Hey, what's up? So here is my review for Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight. I had not done any research. I didn't even know what the story was about or anything. I could tell from gameplay that it looked like an Arkham game, and that was all that I saw. I'd seen, I don't know, enough gameplay to sell me on the game, right? And visually, I thought it looked cool. Combat looked great, and I have enjoyed some Lego games, specifically Lego City Undercover and the Skywalker Saga. I really like the Skywalker Saga a lot. Um, the reason I mention that is because I briefly speak on the story in the game at the beginning of my review here. So, the story takes place mainly throughout the entire movie series, beginning with the one that starred Michael Keaton in 1989. There's a little bit of mix with the older shows and the Rocksteady games as well, but it's mostly the newer movie series up until now, excluding Batman vs. Superman. It does have the Affleck Batsuit and Batmobile though. And there are a couple joke joke references to the movie as well. And I don't want to spoil that because it's just funny. They said it at least twice in the game, and it just made me laugh each time. And it was so out of place, but it was a reference joke to the Batman versus Superman movie. Very silly. It was cool though. It made me laugh. Let's see. I started this game on the hardest difficulty because I knew and expected that even on the hardest difficulty, that it would likely play out as a normal difficulty would be for most games, and I was correct. This is my opinion, of course. I've played a few LEGO games over the past several years that I really enjoyed, including LEGO City Undercover and the Skywalker Saga, so I knew mostly what to expect as far as difficulty with the combat itself. Some of the combat encounters are more difficult than others, and I even lost lives a couple times, but for any player used to the Batman Arkham series, you should have no trouble with this. For younger and newer gamers, I imagine it should be very accessible and a good early gaming experience, especially with the various accessibility options. One of the accessibility options I went with was to disable Q2Es, QuickTime events. The last game I can remember that had exceptional QuickTime events were the original God of War trilogy. Most games just have you press a single key at a time or mash a button. God of War 2005 had you do multiple presses at different times for ongoing cinematic action events. It was really cool and offered in-game events that are otherwise impossible to experience. That's how I felt about the God of War trilogy. Since most games don't do that, I've started to disable QTEs when the option is available. Other games I forgot to mention in my review, but this was already kind of off topic for the most part, but something like Heavy Rain or those types of games like Quantic Dream games with all the crazy button presses that you do, even those are more engaging. Out of like Beyond Two Souls and Detroit Become Human and stuff like that, Heavy Rain did have more frustrating combinations of button presses at times. Overall, it was generally good, but there were a few times where it was like, this is madness. But those are better QuickTime events than your typical, most games you press one key during a cinematic at one time, or mash a button, right? Like those aren't even QuickTime events. They're pretty terrible. Even Crimson Desert had one early on during a boss fight that people complained about. I thought it was very funny. Let me see, where was I here? Some of the cinematics in this game, where it was obvious there would be QuickTime events, looked like they might actually be cool to interact with, but I was fine with just watching them as a movie instead. So that was a thing. I could tell there were a few like longer cinematic parts where I could tell that the game kind of was pausing to let you probably either mash a button or press a button or whatever. So that did make me think like, oh, am I missing out? Did they actually do fun QuickTime events? But I never ended up enabling it, and maybe I will for my next playthrough or something just to see. But I thought, during those specific parts, I was like, oh, that would be fun to interact with, because those specific parts where the game was prompting you right to interact with it, they were actually cool parts of the cinematic. It's pretty neat. Let's see. For accessibility, I also disabled stud loss upon death. There are a lot of good gameplay and accessibility options, so be sure to check them out. Specifically the stud loss upon death thing, I always check options now before even starting a game. I didn't used to do that many years ago. I used to just start the game right away, right? But especially on PC, it's definitely better to check mostly graphics options, right? Because you don't really have the same kind of options on console and such. But the first thing I do is go to graphic settings and make sure that everything's where I want it to be. Specifically like disabling motion blur, making sure everything's like maxed out, But other things too, like little things that I can't think of off the top of my head, but just little things I like to check. Oh, like frame cap. I do cap my games at 60 FPS. It seems like most games just leave it off default for unlimited. So I always cap mine at 60. Okay. But yeah, so stud loss. In previous games I played with Lego, I don't even know if they had that option where you could disable stud loss. Like maybe they did, but this was the first time I actually like saw it in the options and decided to turn off stud loss when you die. I didn't really die many times throughout the playthrough, but I wanted to make sure that I'd be able to buy like whatever I wanted to buy without having to go grind again and whatever, because I just wanted to have fun. I just wanted to play through the game. I didn't want to mess around with like grinding those studs out and stuff. So that's why I didn't think it'd be hard or anything. Like I wasn't worried about it. But I was like, I just don't want to go grinding studs, man. That's all. And it's fun, and I still grind studs anyways, but I do it for fun. I don't do it because I'm like trying to earn enough to buy a thing, you know? Okay, so as far as puzzles, some of them can actually be pretty tricky or advanced, annoyingly so. This is weird. I wrote some of this review weird. Anyways, the most annoying ones to me are the ones you simply can't access right away and for a long time because you need to progress deeper into the campaign to unlock the characters to access those puzzles. I don't like that system. If I can come across a puzzle that's there in front of my face, I would prefer to actually be able to solve it right away and not be forced to come back later. This is just a complaint out of preference. The game design does make sense to me, and I do enjoy the progression system itself. So I get it. I just think it'd be cooler, and I almost wrote this too, but I just think it'd be cooler if there was a way to like say World of Warcraft, for example, where there's zoning, where you don't see something right away until you're on the quest, and then when you're on the quest, the world changes and then has an interactable or whatever. I think that would be cool. But at the same time, you know, it's not necessary or anything. It's just just a thing. Kind of, you know, I like to, like when there's something that I can do, like side content, that I can see it right away. I'd rather do it right away than wait 10 hours while playing through the campaign. That's all, you know, it's not a big deal. At least in this case, it's mostly obvious that you have to gain access to a gadget or character that you don't already have access to in order to solve that particular puzzle. A little X symbol or a lock icon means that you have to come back later. So the X, if I remember correctly, the X will show up like on the icon right there in the puzzle. But if you look at the map, there will be a lock icon, and that means you can't access it yet. So there's two different icons related to like whether you can do that puzzle or not. So that's cool. I really enjoyed Batgirl's Hackerang, and the fact that it's even called Hackerang is super funny and cute. I love that Hackerang. And Catwoman's lockpicking mechanics for these puzzles. They're just cute. Batgirl's drone was also neat. They're super easy, being a kid's game and all, but very fun. Always remember to destroy everything. It's the Lego way. That's the thing too. Like a lot of these, I forgot. And I didn't even know this about Lego games when I first started playing them some years ago. Was that because I remember I was on a puzzle one of the first times I was playing a Lego game, and I didn't figure it out because I didn't realize you have to destroy things before you can build them. Like that's how the games work. Most of those things, especially related to puzzles, you just destroy the environment, you break it up, and then you build like a puzzle mechanic thing that helps you progress the game and stuff. So that's funny. So always destroy everything, especially when it's related to puzzles. But yeah, as far as like there are a lot of things each of these characters can do and the way that they interact with the puzzles and stuff. Just Batgirl's Hackerang was a fun little, it's like a 3-second little puzzle thing that you navigate. It's probably a little bit more fun for kids. But yeah, hers and Catwoman's lockpicking, they're very simple but cool, like cool little game mechanics that are in there. I like them. They just stood out to me more than the other characters. Let's see, being an Arkham-styled game, it's overloaded with freaking Riddler puzzles, man. I forgot about that. It is just like the Arkham games where there's just way more Riddler stuff on the map. At least most of these are fun and far easier to deal with than they were in the actual Arkham series. I couldn't stand most of those. And then a side note, as I like the zoo animal missions, they're cute. But yeah, every time I think about it too, with as far as the Arkham Riddler trophy stuff, they're just time wasters more than like making my brain work. You know, they just waste your time. That's why I hate them. I like to solve things. I don't like to like run around being lost on crap, you know, or whatever. Anyways, So they are better in this game. There's a ton of Riddler stuff in this game as well as the other side content as well. But at least they're a lot more fun in this game than they were in the Arkham series. And there are plenty in the Arkham series that are more doable and easy to figure out and whatever, right? But it's not about the simpleness that I'm looking for in those. I just hate having my time wasted. A lot of that stuff is just time wasting. It's not really making you think. It's just run around a bunch, you know? I don't know, whatever. Let's see, and this Lego game, Legacy of the Dark Knight, also has AR missions, just like the Batman Arkham series had. There are ground races, gliding races, and combat missions. I don't think they did any stealth-focused ones, though. I haven't finished every combat mission yet, but I highly doubt they did stealth-focused missions, only because there's not really a lot of stealth in the game at all anyways. I've mostly focused on the races so far because they're so much fun to me. The controls are a bit rough for some of the more precise gliding missions, which just means that they take extra tries to get down well. The driving races also sometimes have some tricky turns to take. It's cool that even for me, some of these offered a bit more extra challenge. The vehicles even have their own handling, and I was not expecting that in a Lego game. The first Bat Cycle actually handles pretty terribly in comparison to other vehicles. That was surprising to me that the Bat Cycle had the worst handling, and not like bad handling, just it was some of the Batmobiles had better handling than the motorcycle, and I was like, that's strange, because usually motorcycles have better handling and stuff. A handbrake would have been nice to have. There's no handbrake in the game. As far as the gliding missions, Arkham had a little bit as well, where some of them were more precise and required like a bit more trickery to it, as far as like, you know, just being a little harder to control through and stuff. This one also reminded me of Gotham Knights a little bit too, because like most of the traversal challenges are kind of easy and fun to play, and they're the ones that are like, man, what? Who designed this crap, dude? This is not. It doesn't flow right? Like it just doesn't flow, and there's this weird bleh to it. There's a little bit of that in this one too, but mostly, you know, especially being a kid's game, I was surprised it even happened at all. But yeah, it's pretty cool though. It's pretty cool to have all the challenges in there. And combat, the first thing I noticed that is that Batman doesn't have a normal cape stun in this game. What's interesting about that is that Catwoman does. She doesn't use her cape, but she summons a cat and cats after an upgrade to stun the enemy and then can perform a beatdown. It's hilarious and epic. Yeah, I love Catwoman's beatdown, man. It's freaking funny. Batman's Batarangs can stun opponents after multiple hits, but it does suck that you can't just do it manually right away. Nightwing's electrified Batarang is the most overpowered, especially since it can chain into multiple enemies at a time. Yeah, it's pretty cool, and the visual effect is pretty cool. It does a chain lightning, and it's just lightning bolt, boo, you know, right? It's freaking cool. He's badass. Each character has their own playstyle, weapons, and skill trees for abilities, as well as their weapons. So you get their skills, and then you can upgrade weapon, gadget, like perks and whatever. Eventually, you unlock a chain stealth takedown, so that is super cool. It is cool that you do finally get like a chain stealth takedown, but like I said, there's really not a lot of stealth that happens in the game. Not really. I suppose you could, on your own, like be more stealthy, right? But it's just I never encountered that through any of the playthrough. There was a couple missions where you had to be stealthy, but for the most part, it's pretty much an action game. But it's cool though that they did have the chain stealth takedowns as a thing in the game. One thing I thought was a little funny is that you could dodge roll through items to smash them instead of meleeing or shooting them. Kind of like when you spam rolling in Souls games. All right, that's pretty funny, man. So yeah, you just roll around and you just break everything and get all your studs and stuff. There's quite a bit of character customization, sort of. There are a lot of unlockables, including suits, but also color palettes for the suits as well. Sadly, most of the character suits almost look identical with the tiniest variation, so that is annoying, but the color palettes at least make it so there's a bit more to work with. Yeah, like Batwoman, Catwoman, even Gordon. They do have a few different suits, right? But mostly, almost everything looks exactly the same. It's freaking annoying, especially Batman. He's the worst one because he has the most suits too, which makes sense. But like let's say he has 50 suits, like 40 of them almost all look the same, and I'm just using that number. It's not the actual number of suits. I never did count them all, but there's a bit. It's pretty cool. Let's see. Unfortunately, there's no black mod to unlock for the color palette, so you can't actually make any of the suits that have a lot of color by default look darker instead. That would have been cool, but there are plenty of fun and different cool styles to play with. Yeah, so you get the like Lego mods or whatever. That's how you unlock the colors. They even work for your vehicles. Like you can change the color, your Batmobiles and your Batcycles and all that stuff. It's pretty cool. But there's nothing that makes it black, right? And somebody pointed this out too. These are like, and he's like, yeah, are most of the suits black anyways? Like, yeah, but it would be cool for those suits that aren't black and they have colors like naturally as the way they're designed. It would have been cool to be able to change those into blacker or darker versions, right? Like not only black, but to have some black in it as well. That just would have been cool. The Batcave is freaking amazing. I was not expecting it to be so huge, especially after upgrades. I also was not expecting it to be so customizable. Throughout the game, you earn different things that you can place around your cave, and you can also buy a lot of things from the Batmite store with studs. I am not familiar with Batmite at all. Like, I might have seen him like once here and there, but I don't actually know who that character is, where he's from, and what that's about. But it was cute in the game, though. The one thing about that is the way things are made available to you. Oh, the odd thing about that is the way things are made available to you, sorry. The store seems to randomly change what you can buy at different times, switching out which items are available, like every time you visit it and stuff. Each time you buy an item, it is replaced by a new one. I only bought the ones on display that I was interested in while ignoring the rest that were on display. My intent is to buy every single thing eventually, but I only buy the things that I actually want right away. So on the display in the store, you know, there's a bunch of stuff it'll show you that I'm just like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, why would I even want that? That's ugly. Like it looks dumb or whatever. But somebody else will probably like it, right? You know. And then after you buy it, it gets replaced by a seemingly random item that they cycle through. So eventually you will see the same items over and over again, but they place them in there differently at different times and stuff until you eventually buy them all. The only thing I bought right away were the costumes. Those you can't really pick either. A new costume will appear every time you buy one until none are available. So yeah, that was the only thing I ever really liked. That was the first thing, and whenever I saw like a costume on there, and they happen every time you like unlock a new character in the game. You go to the Batmite store, and then you can buy whatever suits they have available. Pretty cool. Most costumes show up in the store as you unlock each character, but some require progress in the game and completing puzzles to unlock them. For the Batcave specifically, there are different areas in the zone that allow you to place statues and furniture and stuff. Every time you open up a new part of the cave, the game defaults a few items to demonstrate a specific theme of what you might want to decorate with. You can delete and replace items. This is never a feature I really spent a lot of time on, but I'm still always impressed when I see so many options available. The same thing happened in Hogwarts Legacy and Assassin's Creed Shadows. I think it's incredible stuff. Yeah, especially Hogwarts Legacy, I was like, that blew my mind, like how much customization, how much your like housing you could go in there and customize. Like, it's freaking nuts, dude. But yeah, it's pretty cool though. So the Batcave, the way you can customize it, the little items you can add here and there are pretty neat, and they have some fun little things, you know. No spoiler. This is about the story. While I enjoyed the story as a whole and Legacy of the Dark Knight as it spanned over most of the movies, I was actually really disappointed with the ending. I forgot about that. I beat this a few days ago and wrote this a few days ago. I think anyways, or a couple days ago. Let me see, what was this? The 24th? A couple days ago. I forgot the ending was a little disappointing. The final boss was incredible and new. I hadn't seen anything like that before in these games. The character, I want to name what the character looks like, but I'm like, I'm not gonna spoil that. I don't want to spoil like the final boss. That was freaking cool, man. Not gameplay mechanics wise, nothing new to gameplay mechanics wise, right? But just the character design and stuff. I was trying to think too. I don't think that it was in Arkham Knight either. Like the specific like look. It was just really cool. But it does remind me of one of the comic book characters that isn't who this character is. That's why I thought it was strange. I was like why do they look like that? They're not even that character. It was interesting though. Let's see, that was really dang cool, but the story just kind of ends like it's cute and then it's over. Yeah. But it just like, and it was fine because like it's climactic, like you go through all the stuff, like you beat the final boss, that is the final boss and stuff, and it was cool, but then it was just over, and I was like, that's a weird way to end the game. Like they didn't even, they had like a little thing, but it didn't seem like the ending of a story. That's all. But it's a Lego game, and they don't really focus too heavily on the story, right? You know, not in that sense, anyways. I don't know why exactly, but I like that they use this song by Seal for the credits, and even in their launch trailer, it's a pretty song. Yeah, they had it in the launch trailer. I was surprised. I was like, when I watched the launch trailer, I was like, oh damn, they're using this song. That's pretty cool. I think it was Batman Forever that had that song. It was a pretty cool song. So let's see. There are bugs. Let me talk about the bugs here. Fortunately, most bugs can be fixed with a simple reload checkpoint, but I've seen some players post on the forums that reloading the checkpoint and verifying files on Steam did not fix the issue, and it worked after reinstalling the game. Yikes. My personal least favorite bug is involved with remapping the keybinds on PC. Once you remap the keybinds, aiming specifically with Batman only, not the other characters, and specifically with his main gadget, the Batarang, his grapple works fine, just doesn't work. I can aim with him, but he won't throw the Batarang. It happens constantly. This is one of the most easily reproducible bugs I've ever seen. At some point, I just plugged in my controller and I switched to it briefly for those puzzle parts where I need it. Also, it may be connected to the toggle aim option, but I'm not fully sure. I didn't do a lot of testing with that specifically. It was just super buggy. When toggling aim with the key rebound, it would just auto spam aim and unaim. You know, like I would press the key because I would have toggle aim, right? So you press the button once, it aims, and then you press it again, it unaims. And I would press that after rebinding the key, and it would just spam. It would just go aim, not aim, 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 not aim. You know, like just spamming, like boop, 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 boop. And I was like, what the hell's going on? So there is like a mess of stuff related specifically to the keybinds. Mostly it's perfectly playable, mostly. But specifically those puzzle parts where you need to aim and throw your Batarang, that is a pain in the butt, very frustrating. You usually don't have to do that, but there are certain puzzles that require the actual aiming, because usually you just hit the quick fire. Like if you do a quick fire gadget, like you can usually just hit what you need to aim at, but there are some of those parts where you have to manually aim in order to hit the right spot. Another thing I came across was being unable to use photo mode in certain areas. Not everybody's going to care about that, but I did find it was a weird bug. I have to assume it's a bug because it would happen in places that didn't make sense. The first time I encountered it, I assumed maybe it was to avoid spoilers in a certain area, but it also seems to happen in the most random areas. I also don't like that you can't open photo mode during most finishers. You know how the finisher moves are kind of cinematic? It's always annoying when you can't use photo mode during that. A lot of games do this for some reason. I guess technical issues maybe, but sometimes I wonder if it's just an oversight. Easily some of the best moments to take a photo would be during a finisher. Yeah, it's weird. I know there's a couple games I've played during finishers that you can actually go photo mode and move the camera and stuff during the finishing like cinematic move, but most of them you can't. Most of them are like this locked cinematic, and you can't even pause the game. Even in the Lego Batman, you can't even pause the game during that finishing animation. It's like, oh man. Let's see, related to the accessibility options, toggle keybind for actions is also tied to driving mechanics. I forgot about this. So, you know, in some games with this option, you can press a button a single time rather than have to mash it. With that option enabled in this game, it means you are forced to toggle accelerate and reverse while in a vehicle. I ended up just getting used to that because I quickly got sick and tired of disabling the option every time I wanted to do a racing challenge. Disabling and re-enabling every time, before and after a race and stuff. So I did send them some feedback saying it would be better to separate the driving mechanics from that toggle option. It's mostly only trickier for the harder turns, but it is easy to get used to if you really want to, which I did. Seriously, disabling and re-enabling toggle every time I wanted to do a race got old real fast. I think I did like 4 of them before. I was like, I'm just gonna get used to this. This is terrible. Also, because at the time I was going from race to race, like stopping here and there for little puzzles and whatever, but I was you know, opening up the map, checking out where the races were. I'd go to the race and go do the race and stuff because they're fun. Let's see, lastly for me, every single time I load back into the game, the costumes for each of my characters has randomly changed. I'm not sure exactly what it's doing. I think it's reloading a previous save checkpoint with the different costumes that I had on during the game checkpoint rather than the ones I had equipped with when saving and quitting the game. It's annoying. I believe my progress saves correctly, just not the costumes. So it's not exactly random on the costume changes. It's I think it's reloading like a story checkpoint or whatever costume. But I'm pretty sure it keeps my studs saved, right, and stuff like that. So it's weird, like saving and quitting the game, it doesn't keep the costumes that I save and quit with, which is annoying. It is. That's terrible because every time I boot the game back up or reload and whatever, I have to change my costumes to something else again. Whatever. It's not a big deal, but it is a bug. Let's see. There are a lot of bugs in the game from what I've experienced and seen. They're mostly not game breaking. And like I said, though, some people said they literally had to uninstall and reinstall the game to get things to work properly. I don't know if that's actually true or if they just should have tried reloading the checkpoint again. It could be true. It could be that they, for some reason, had to reinstall the game. It's just a weird one, you know? And then I shared the forum link too if you want to check out some, like, the bugs that are reported so far. There's a lot. Final thoughts. Let's see. This game has a pretty awesome amount of content via various amount of puzzle types and racing and combat missions. The graphics are gorgeous, and as I was writing this, I was like, oh yeah, that reminds me. I didn't have many performance issues, really. I noticed here and there a couple very tiny visual glitchy blips, but it only happened 3 or 4 times at the beginning, and I hadn't noticed it since then. And that was after once I had got to Arkham itself, into the open world. Like, happened like 3 or 4 times where I'd see like a little, just the littlest, tiniest blip of a glitch somewhere on the screen, right? But that was it, and after that, I hadn't seen him again. I have a really good PC though that will soon be outdated. I play in 1080p with a 60 FPS cap. As far as the price, it's hard for me to say. I think it's a bit short for being an open world game. Heck, it's actually shorter than the Skywalker Saga, so that alone is a bit disappointing. I picked up the deluxe edition from Loaded for cheaper than the base game price. That's why I got it. I mean, I was planning to get this game anyways, but that definitely helped, being able to get the season pass thing, which might not even be worth it really. But that was mainly why I got it, because I got the deluxe edition for cheaper than the base price, which I don't think it should be $70, but that's the new normal. So what the hell are you gonna do, right? Other than bitch and complain, because that's all I can do. Whatever. Wait for a sale, right? Wait for a sale. I can't help but think it makes sense to wait for a sale simply because of how short I think it is. Look, 30 hours is a decent amount of game time, and I might even get 20-ish more hours out of it from collecting everything, and I'll probably even replay the story again. But it's still a lot of money for us peasants, in quotes. The quality of the game itself is excellent, excluding the bugs. The story was fun with a lot of characters and boss fights. The game mechanics are fun. Most of the puzzles and activities are fun, with some excruciatingly but very rare frustrating points. It's a great game. There is a player that 100%ed everything with 28 hours played. I have to think he used guides for everything somehow or something. But I do spend a bit of my time in photo mode as well, and I like to just explore and waste time smashing stuff. So yeah, somebody had shared on the forum that he was asking, like, hey, how long would it take you guys 100%, right? And he had just under 28 hours, and I was like, man, 100%? Like, I still have a ton of stuff to do in the Skywalker Saga, and I have like 50 hours played on it. I think at least 10 hours of that is probably like idle or nothing or whatever. But I got a lot of playtime out of Skywalker Saga, and I was kind of expecting that out of this too. Not just the campaign, but at least extra content. But again, though, like I said, like it's a good game. There is plenty of content. It is pricey, but it's cool though. Like, it's a good game. As I was thinking about, oh yeah, and as far as like the player that 100% it under 28 hours, that's crazy. But I have no doubt. I actually have no doubt he found all the stuff online, and he just didn't even explore. He didn't actually try to figure out any of that stuff himself. He just went online, saw how to solve these things, did it, and that's it. Didn't actually play it for himself, right? That's the only way. That's the only way that's possible, man. I didn't do a lot of time wasting. I explored and stuff, but like, I'm just like, no, there's no way he did that in under 28 hours with not just doing every puzzle with help. Like that's just weird to me. People are like that, though, man. They'll do that kind of a thing. So yeah, so the price really is the only main issue that I've seen. The bugs are a pain in the butt. That is not cool, right? A lot of bugs, but it is a good game. It made me think of how, like, right now, the new 007 game, I just saw that that was like a 12 to 15 hour campaign. Of course, people will say there's replay value. That's great. That is great. 12 to 15 hours is short though, especially when people are defending the price. Like it's one thing like, look, man, I get saying that a game is good. I said this about MindsEye. I was like, look, I don't regret paying $60 for MindsEye. I don't regret it. I should have waited for a sale just because of how short it was, but you know, whatever. I wanted it right away. You know, I didn't want to wait. But I'm not going to defend the price over. I do think games, the length of a game should reflect the price. Maybe not at a certain point, right? Like I wouldn't charge $200 for Assassin's Creed, for example, which offers hundreds of hours. You know, I'm just saying like if anything should be full price, it should be a game that's going to be a minimum of 30 hours, right? Like I'm, you know, right? So I think that like, I don't know. I now I think about it, right? Like 30 hours isn't too bad for $70, I guess, or whatever, you know. It's not bad. It's not. It's just when you know you can get hundreds of hours out of other games that have a lot more content, even more story and stuff like that, you kind of feel like, well, what the hell, right? You know, it's a, whatever. Yeah, so that's more to do with what people can afford really, which is there's such an enormous massive amount of different kinds of divides in income and wealth and stuff that's why it's so easy to come across the discourse and the debates and the conversation about what something's worth. But I do think it makes sense for a game's price to reflect the longevity that it's going to offer you. That's all. Anyways, the game was cool, and I was planning to share some more extra thoughts, but no, that's cool. We're all good, man. I will talk to you later. Let me know what you think. Bye bye.